Hey, welcome back everybody, 6 Foot Hacks here. Got for you guys today, week 3 of the CCL D League. Now, if you may have missed any of my previous matches, a link to a playlist should be down in the description if you guys would like to go check those out. And of course, if you do enjoy the video, guys, make sure to hit the like button down below. It's just 1 second of your time, and one like can definitely go a long way. And I want to go ahead and apologize and say sorry that this match is not live recorded. I know I keep saying that these are going to be live, recorded, and the reason why this one wasn't live recorded was because I was watching both of my sons during this match. So hope you guys don't mind that this match is going to be post commentated. I will try for week 4 to be live narrated, however, so keep your fingers crossed on that one. But this week we are facing the weird Owl Knight, who is the coach of the Cardiff Swablus, I think Swablus, I think that's Swablus, the Cardiff Swablus. But his Twitter link, channel link, and stuff will be down in the description. We have another really tough matchup this week. The reason why I say that is because we have literally nothing that can take a hit from Modest Specs Kiram. And that's just regular Kiram, like not Kiram Black, just regular Kiram. So that is a humongous threat. Another huge issue is Tapu Koko, because Tapu Koko, as we know, is an amazing Tapu right now, especially in electric terrain. That thing can be utterly destructive, so that's definitely something that I will have to watch out for. Porygon 2 is stupidly bulky, and our only fighting type on our draft is Cobalion, which I don't think can OHKO Porygon 2, so if worse comes to worse, he can just paralyze us. But as you can see, I don't have Cobalion, but Porygon 2 is an issue. Gengar could be a slight problem depending on the set if he decides to bring that, and actually, this is more or less what I expect him to bring. If not Gengar, I expect him to have Porygon 2 over Gengar, just because Porygon 2 is really his best switch-ins to my Kingdra and any of the other special attackers on our squad. So that's the main reason why I expect him to want to bring Porygon 2 as opposed to bringing Gengar, which Gengar can't really do much unless it's like sub Will-O-Wisp maybe, but even then I can kind of play around that. But as you can see here, yes, this is a bulky defensive Jolteon. The reason why this is a bulky defensive Jolteon is mainly for Tapu Koko. This is like really my best switch-in for Tapu Koko. If I'm able to win a speed tie and get up the light screen, then there's no way he can 2-KO me. A Dazzling Gleam from Life Orb Tapu Koko to this spread does about 40 to like 50 something percent. If I'm not mistaken, then I can go for a light screen, or I can try to KO it with Hidden Power Ground depending on the range that it's at. Toxic is mainly for Hippowdon, Porygon 2, and even Slowbro. If Slowbro does come, he most likely is going to be bringing a Calm Mind variant. This is the set that I expect him to bring. If he doesn't have one of these 2 offensive moves, then I can find out which one it is and play around it a little bit more accordingly. With this EV spread and a bold nature, he can take knock off Life Orb from Adamant Mamoswine and Earthquake after Rock, so he has liberty to mess around with the remainder of these 80 EVs in either Special Attack or Spadef. Tornadus should be running enough speed to outspeed Cobalion, because it's not going to be able to outspeed Jolteon, so he most likely will be just running 347 speed. Scizor, I really don't know what kind of set this is going to be, but if he does bring in Scizor, which I'm pretty sure that he is going to bring Scizor, then I have to figure out what kind of set it is. Kiram, like I said, most likely will just be Modest Specs, because that thing can absolutely nuke my squad. And then of course Porygon 2 will probably be Spadef bulky, and then Tapu Koko will probably just be Life Orb with 4 attacks. But like I said, this is just a support defensive Jolteon to be able to speed tie with Tapu Koko, get up light screen, because if you look at Weird Owl Knight's draft, he's got a lot of special attackers. Tornadus 2, Porygon, not Tornadus 2, Tornadus T, Porygon 2, Tapu Koko, Shaman, Kiram, Gengar, and Slowbro. So if I'm able to get up a light screen, that is just going to make things a whole lot easier for me. Next off, we have Moneybags, the Pelipper, making his debut. Ooh, say hello to Moneybags, ladies and gentlemen. With the Choice Scarf and Max Speed Timid Nature, we're able to outspeed Max Speed Tornadus by 1 point. We're able to outspeed Max Speed Tornadus by 1 point. And depending on whether Tornadus is Assault Vest or Life Orb, or maybe if he doesn't have Life Orb, but as long as he doesn't have Assault Vest, then Pelipper should be able to 2-KO Tornadus after rocks in rain with either Hydro Pump or Skull, depending on the range of HP that he is at. Next off, we have Omar the Kingdra, and I spent quite a bit of time on this set. The EV spread is, I think, enough to outspeed Scarf Victini or Scarf Shaman, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to be bringing Victini because, of course, we do have the Pelipper, which can nullify Victini, although I have used Victini myself. Of course, Vicente, one of the MVPs for the Durham Druddigons in Season 3 of the UCL. So I know Vicente can be very destructive, but the reason why I have Toxic on here as well is, again, because of Porygon 2 and Slowbro mainly. The reason why I want to be able to Toxic them is because those are really the only two Pokemon that Weird Owl Knights has that can switch into my Kingdra if I were a Modest Specs variant or not. So by being able to catch Slowbro with a Toxic or catch Porygon 2 with a Toxic, then obviously that will make them a lot easier for us to beat 1v1 and make them less likely to live any hit that I want to go for. So the reason why I have Sea Essence over something like Draco Plate is because obviously we have Surf and Hydro Pump. Surf has a little bit of extra power and can nab a KO or two more than what Skull could otherwise do. And much like Pelipper to Tornadus, depending on what set Tornadus is, then that can also not switch in safely to this Kingdra. Or if I'm able to Toxic that, then that's going to be really good as well. Draco Meteor is really only for Kyurem and for Slowbro, because after Tox damage and rock damage, then I can OHKO Slowbro if he tries to switch it in, and then I can just straight OHKO Kyurem with this set, with me being Modest Max Special Attack. So I'm really hoping Omar will put in some work on his debut. Next up, we have Munchies, the Snorlax. Of course, Snorlax is an absolute monster. We are running Assault Vest this time because I'm able to switch into two Modest Choice Specs Focus Blast from Kyurem. So this is really my best switch into that. Although if it does turn out to be Substitute and Roost, then that could be a little bit annoying, but I can honestly play around that, so I'm not too concerned. However, though, if I'm able to get up a Light Screen with Juliet here, then that's going to be making Snorlax a much greater switch into all of his special attackers, which is really good. Fire Punch is mainly just for the Scizor, and then C-Bomb is to be able to do a little bit more damage to Hippowdon and Slowbro, especially if Slowbro is Toxic, then it's going to be a whole lot easier to beat. Pursuit is so we can trap Gengar mostly. If it doesn't have the Will-O-Wisp, then we can Pursuit him, and I believe OHKO after rocks damage. If not, then we can also Pursuit Victini and get off a huge amount of damage on that, and even Pursuit Slowbro, if I predict that, then we'll get off some extra damage, nullifying his Regenerator a bit, making it easier for us to beat. And then Body Slam, of course, is just for stab. Next off, we have Double Dance Reuniclus Jasmine making a return. Of course, Jasmine was the MVP for week 2 of the CCL D League, and we're just running the same set, although we are running different EVs. If I remember correctly, with the Calm Nature and Spadef EVs and 240 HP EVs, there's no way Life Orb Max Special Attack Tornadus can 2-KO us even if we don't have leftovers. So that's going to be really huge if he does bring offensive Life Orb Tornadus. And then finally off, we have the second Scarfer and our Stealth Rocker. We have Meltzer the Mamoswine here, rocking enough speed to outspeed Tapu Koko by 2 points. So if I'm able to catch Tapu Koko in against Mamoswine, then there may be a chance I'll be able to outspeed him and straight OHKO him with the Earthquake. I know it's a little bit odd to have a choice Stealth Rocker, but if you look at Weird Owl King, why do I keep saying, I keep wanting to say Weird Owl King, but it's Weird Owl Knight. If you look at his draft, his only form of getting rid of hazards is Scizor. And if Scizor is running a defog set, then it's not going to be that big of an issue, although I think he did use Choice Band in one of his previous matches that I watched. So I'm expecting him to bring a more offensive variant of Scizor as opposed to a defensive variant. So if I'm able to get up rocks, then they will be on the field for the remainder of the match. Another good thing is that his only Stealth Rocker is Hippowdon, and Hippowdon has an absolutely terrible matchup in this game. So I don't expect them to want to bring rocks, so that's going to give us an even greater advantage. And the reason why I didn't go Adamant is because Adamant Mamoswine only reaches 259 speed, which otherwise cannot outspeed Tapu Koko, so we do have to sacrifice a bit of power in order to be able to outspeed it. The knockoff is just there for coverage and being able to knock off the Eviolites from Porygon 2 and knock off the leftovers on Slowbro so I can beat them a little bit easier. You notice how I keep saying Slowbro and Porygon 2 are an issue? That is because they are probably the two bulkiest mons on his team, and if I get rid of them, then I will be able to win a one-on-one more aggressive matchup thanks to me being able to have double speed Kingdra in Rain and having two Scarfers in Pelipper and Mamoswine. So yeah guys, that is the run through of the team. A little bit more lengthy than I like to do it, but let's go get into the matchup. Alright, so as you can see, he did not bring Kyurem, and oh my god, I was so happy that he did not bring the Kyurem, because that just relieves so much pressure from my Snorlax. That means I'm going to be able to switch in better against the Tapu Koko, the non-super powered Tornadus, and the Shaman as well. Actually, I think some of the defensive E's on my Snorlax were so I can take two superpowers from Tornadus if he's not assault vested. So again, he didn't bring Mamoswine because it does have a terrible matchup in this game, so that's going to be really good. If I'm able to get up rocks fairly early with Mamoswine, I will have a huge advantage throughout this entire match because his team is going to be taking that initial chip damage from rocks every time they switch in and out, as where my team will not be taking any damage at all. So that's really good. If I really wanted to, I could have probably brought Scolipede, but I felt Scolipede didn't really have a good matchup in this game, and the last mon I threw on the squad was Mamoswine because I wanted something with rocks, and I felt like Mamoswine had a better matchup than what Cobalion otherwise would have had. And the good thing is if he has no Scarfer, then my Mamoswine outspeeds his entire team. So if I'm able to save Meltzer, Meltzer can definitely pick up a lot of KOs potentially late game with the proper prediction. So expecting him to actually want to lead off with the Tapu Koko or maybe lead off with the Tornadus, I am actually going to be leading off with Meltzer, the Mamoswine, as he does lead off with Tapu Koko. And turn one, I was a little hesitant to go straight for the Earthquake. I kind of wanted to go for the knockoff or maybe go for the Icicle Crash, but the more I thought about it, I was like, well, it's only turn one. I really don't think he's going to be expecting me to be Scarf Mamoswine, and there's no way he's going to have the Sash. So I'm going to stay in hoping that he stays in thinking that he can outspeed me, thinking that I may just go straight for my Stealth Rocks because I'm most likely a Focus Sash variant. But no, I am indeed Scarfed, and I'm able to just straight nuke this Tapu Koko. In turn one giant threat is gone. One humongous problem that I no longer have to deal with. This also relieves a lot of pressure from my Snorlax, which is really good because Snorlax is going to be a whole lot safer to switch into Shaman. Even if he does get the special defense drops, I will still be able to chew hits because I am assault vested and I'm running a lot of Spadef EVs. So we're able to pick up a very early KO as he brings in the Scizor. Obviously I am locked into the EQ and I'm going to be forced to switch out here, and he knows that I'm Scarf, so he's going to predict me to switch. As I bring in my Pelipper, I ran a calc, and because that did 41% to my Pelipper, even though I am not running any bulk investment, that is definitely choice banded Scizor. However though, I don't think he was max attack choice banded Scizor, but he did have a lot of attack EVs, but he definitely was choice banded is what I'm trying to say. So I know that he's banded from that damage, which is really good information, which means he doesn't have defog, which also means that as soon as I get on my Stealth Rocks with my Mamoswine, they will be here to stay for the remainder of the match, and again giving me that very good advantage as he's going to U-turn into his Porygon 2. I don't have Toxic on Pelipper, so I am going to be forced to go straight for the U-turn as I U-turn into my Jolteon, thinking that he would either go for the Discharge or maybe try and go for a Thunderbolt, but he actually ends up going for the Toxic, which is a little bit annoying because Jolteon is also my kind of pseudo check to Tornadus because I am a bit of a bulky variant with leftovers. I can switch into Hurricanes from Tornadus, and he's, as long as he doesn't predict me to bring in Jolteon and catches me with something like a knockoff or superpower, Jolteon can still safely switch into Tornadus depending on the set that he is running. Unless he's like Choice Specs Hurricane, which would maybe be a little problematic, but I could still play around that accordingly. Either way though, he's going to hit me with a Toxic here. And because I'm very, very adamant about the fact that he is not going to be expecting me to go for the toxic. I am actually going to stay in here and go for a toxic of my own the following turn. So being able to toxic this Porygon 2 has now nullified one switch in to my Kingdra, which is really, really good for me. So I'm going to take this chance to go for the Volt Switch and get on out of here, and I Volt Switch into my Snorlax, actually expecting him to try and T-Wave again and not go for the toxic. And because he did paralyze me, this is really, really good because now I can just consistently switch into Porygon 2, and because it's toxic, eventually I will be able to beat it 1v1, because even though he does have recover, the longer he stays in, the more the toxic damage will rack up against him. So here I make a really, 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 really dumb and very, very bad play. And as soon as I clicked Body Slam, I was like, no! No, he's gonna bring in the Slowbro, and of course, Bad Luck Leo, ladies and gentlemen, strikes again, and I paralyzed the Slowbro. Now, this actually helps out Weird Owl Knight so much, because like I kept saying, I need to toxic the Slowbro if I want to be able to have a better chance to beat it 1v1. And if he does turn out to be a Calm Mind variant after +2, because I only have Volt Switch on my Jolteon as an offensive move, then I'm not going to be doing too much damage to him. However, though, the benefit of this is that now my Reuniclus has a better chance of setting up on it and beating it 1v1, but my only offensive move is Psyshock. So it's going to take a couple Calm Minds in order for me to eventually be able to beat this Slowbro 1v1. So I switch into my Reuniclus here, just expecting him to try and go for the Scald. As he ends up getting paralyzed, that did kind of suck for him. I'm not too sure what he did want to go for there, but if it wasn't an offensive move or a setup move, then I guess the paralysis really didn't matter. Then again, that extra little bit of damage he would have got off on my Reuniclus also wouldn't have mattered, but either way, he got paralyzed. So here, I do expect him to want to switch into the Scizor, so I'm going to double into my Jolteon, predicting that. And because Jolteon could possibly have the hidden power Fire, I'm just going to stay in here and go for the Volt Switch. He has 0 switch-ins to my Volt Switch, which is another good thing for me in this matchup, especially because he does not have the Trace on his Porygon 2. I can just consistently wear him down, and this is now my perfect chance to bring in my Mamoswine. There's no way that Porygon 2 is going to be able to OHKO me or paralyze me outside of Toxic or maybe a Tri-Attack like Burn. Then I'm really not worried about what this Porygon wants to do to me. Plus, with him being at this low amount of HP, I'm very positive that he's going to most likely want to go for the Recover, or if he really wanted to, he could have switched into a Slowbro here, which would have actually been better for me, because Porygon 2 would have just been a little bit more weakened than it would have been if he didn't go for the Recover here. So either way, this is my perfect chance to go ahead and get on my Stealth Rocks, as he does end up going for the Recover. This is fine, honestly. He's still going to be taking this toxic damage every turn that he does stay in here. So expecting him to want to go for the offensive move here, I do switch into my Snorlax, as I'm able to take that Tri-Attack because I am Assault Vested. It does do 0, and then I'm going to predict him here to want to switch out, as I'm able to Pursuit Trap him as he brings in the Shaman. Honestly, I am not worried about anything that the Shaman wants to do. Seed Flare only does 18%, and then I'm going to go for a Fire Punch. I do get a crit, but Fire Punch still would have done about 40 to 50% depending on his EV spread, so I don't think this crit mattered, but it does make it a little bit easier for me to beat the Shaman 1v1. And then I make a bit of a misprediction here, and I thought that maybe he would have the Synthesis, because a bulky Shaman against my draft really would have helped him out, because obviously I do have a kind of pseudo rain team, and Shaman is stupidly bulky. Again, I've used Shaman in the UCL Season 3, so I know Shaman can take and eat a lot of hits, even though it may not be invested in HP or defenses. So I do go for the Body Slam here, thinking that he would want to go for the Synthesis, and I should have honestly just gone for the Pursuit, because I might have been able to put him in range of where Rocks could have knocked him out. So as he brings in the Slowbro, I'm going to switch into my Pelipper, as unfortunately he gets paralyzed again, and this is just a very poorly trained Slowbro. Now, this para mattered if he did go for the Calm Mind. Otherwise, I don't really think it would have mattered, and now I'm in a scenario where I can just safely click Hurricane and possibly 2 KO this Slowbro, or 2 KO or Oko, anything that he wants to switch in to my Pelipper. As I do go for the Hurricane, I get the confusion, but he breaks through and he goes for the Calm Mind. But because he is paralyzed and he is confused, the odds of him trying to slack off or maybe go for another Calm Mind for whatever reason are really not that good. And even after this +1 in his Spadef stat, I still have a chance to knock him out with another Hurricane. So if he really wanted to, he could have stayed in here and played with this luck and hoped that he got the slack off. Either way, much like the previous turn, I'm still in a scenario of where I can just safely click Hurricane and knock out or 2 KO whatever he decides to bring in. As he does bring in the Porygon 2, I will be able to safely 2 KO that, and because I was able to get off that pursuit damage, he is in range of where he can't live rocks, and he is going to leave it in for Death Water. So down goes the Porygon 2, as in comes the Scizor. Unfortunately, it is not able to be knocked out by Hurricane after Stealth Rocks. I believe the max damage that Hurricane would have been able to do to Scizor was like 70%. So if I was feeling ballsy, I could have stayed in here and gone for the Hurricane. However, though, I don't really need my Mamoswine anymore from this matchup because honestly, I can still win with just my Kingdra and my Reuniclus. Mamoswine right now is probably the most expendable team member on my squad because I still need Jolteon to switch into the Tornadus and check the Slowbro and stop it from trying to Calm Mind, and Snorlax can still consistently switch into Shaman and non-superpowered Tornadus. So I am just going to switch into my Mamoswine here, basically for Death Water as he goes for the Bug Bites. Now, I know that he's banded, and either way, my best move to go for right here is by far going for the knockoff because he could have still saved his Scizor and he could have just easily switched into a Slowbro here expecting me to Earthquake, or if he was feeling very ballsy, he could have actually switched in the Shaman and then probably if he did live the Earthquake, he could have gone for the Synthesis. I guess in which case I could have just brought in Pelipper to counteract the Synthesis, but either way, he was either going to stay in here. There's no way he's switching in the Tornadus, so he's either going to bring in Slowbro or leave in the Scizor here. And yes, if I do go for the knockoff, I will knock off his Choice Band, but by him losing that extra power behind the Choice Band, I have a much easier time to set up with my Reuniclus. And much like earlier, I can bring in Pelipper here, put him in a scenario of where I can knock out the Scizor or maybe 2 KO whatever he decides to bring in. As he brings in the Tornadus, I don't want to risk him being Assault Vested, although by this point in the match, he should have told me that he wasn't Assault Vested because he was never switching in Tornadus against my Pelipper. So I am going to make the safe switch into my Jolteon as I only take 30%. This is really good because I am going to be able to outspeed Tornadus here and get up my Light Screen. And in hindsight, I guess I could have honestly just gone for the Volt Switch. But as you see, he gets a crit. Now, yeah, the more I think about it, I should have honestly gone for the Volt Switch because I could have just Volt Switched into my Snorlax. And even though, yes, Snorlax would have taken a potential crit Hurricane, I still would have rather had my Jolteon at higher HP, as you'll see from the remainder of this match. Either way, though, I'm still in a scenario of where I can safely just go for the Volt Switch, and I'm able to get off a huge amount of damage, as he turns out to have the red card. I was not expecting red card whatsoever, and he goes for the U-turn on my switch into my Snorlax. So this had me a little bit scared because he can bring in Slowbro here and try to Calm Mind and set up, but he ends up bringing in Shaman, which then goes for the Healing Wish. And this is probably the biggest misplay that he did in this game, in my opinion, because he's going to Healing Wish to his Slowbro, which, if you remember from the team analysis at the beginning of this video, I said I need to Toxic Slowbro if I want to be able to have a better chance of beating it 1v1, and because I accidentally body slammed it and got the paralysis, it was going to be a lot harder for me to beat 1v1. But now that it's no longer toxic, now that it's no longer paralyzed, I can now Toxic him later in this match if he does want to try and Calm Mind up. So I'm going to switch out into my Reuniclus thinking, okay, well, this is just going to turn into a Calm Mind War. And this was really another bad play on my part. Like I said, I was watching my kids during this matchup, so obviously I'm not like 100% focused on this game. But what I should have done was just switch directly into my Kingdra, because I don't really have any more use for Kingdra once this Slowbro gets up to +1 Spadef. Because at +1 Spadef, at that point, Kingdra does not beat Slowbro 1v1 in any kind of scenario unless I was Critdra, which I'm not. So I make the foolish mistake of bringing in my Reuniclus here and thinking, okay, well, I'm just going to set up alongside the Slowbro, and because he doesn't have any way to boost his defense, I will eventually beat him 1v1. But no! He has the Iron Defense. This man is double dance Slowbro, which I was not at all expecting. And here, I'm not gonna lie, I started to panic a bit because I was like, wait, how am I gonna beat this? If this gets out of hand, then he can possibly still win this. But I was like, wait a minute, I have Toxic on my Kingdra, and at this point, I'm pretty sure that he's thinking, okay, Leo is just going to stay in and start Calm Minding up along with the Slowbro, because there's no other way that I can beat Slowbro 1v1. So after going for this next Calm Mind and seeing that he is going to go for Calm Mind again, I'm going to predict him to go for Calm Mind one more time, and I'm going to switch into my Kingdra, and I will be able to catch him off guard with this Toxic, thus putting the Slowbro on a timer, making it better for me, because even though he has boosted up, his only offensive move, as you're going to see, is Psychic. So he can't really do too much damage to my Reuniclus, which is already able to outspeed him, because I am running a little bit of speed EVs to be able to outspeed non-speed EVs Slowbro. So I will be able to bring in my Jolteon here and go for the Volt Switch, get off a little bit of extra chip damage on the Slowbro, and Volt Switch into my Snorlax, which, depending on if he had special attack EVs or not, Slowbro can actually still not 2 KO my Assault Vest Snorlax. So that's an extra turn or an extra second turn of toxic damage, and if I don't get paralyzed, then I can get off Seed Bomb damage on Slowbro, putting it in range of where another Volt Switch may be able to knock him out. Or if I force him out into the Tornadus at this point should have been at around like below 50%. So after rocks, he'll be at about 25%, which means that he can't safely switch in and out consistently and try to keep resetting toxic turns to be able to potentially win this game. However, though, because I mentioned earlier that this Slowbro was poorly trained, he is going to get critted, thus speeding up the process of this match, and that is basically going to win me the battle, because Pelipper is scarfed. I will be able to safely outspeed Tornadus here and knock him out with the Scald, and that is going to be the 4-0 victory in the Durham Druddigons' favor for Week 3 of the CCLD League. Now, the only way that crit would have mattered was in differential, because it might have been a 2-0 or a 1-0, depending on how the match played out. So because of that crit, it was a 4-0, and unfortunately in this draft, differential does matter. So I think overall, out of everybody that's playing, the Durham Druddigons are currently number 2 by 1 point. I think the person in front of us is ahead by only 1 point. So hopefully by the end of Week 4, we can nab the first spot in the CCLD League. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this battle, and if you did, make sure to hit the like button down below, guys. And with that being said, I will see you all tomorrow. And actually, for those of you who are interested in shiny streaming, the day this is going up, I should be shiny hunting later this day on Twitch, so you guys can go check that out if you would like to. Actually, no, I probably will be shiny hunting by the time this goes live, now that I think about it. But either way, hopefully you guys did enjoy, and with that being said, I'm out of here. Later, everybody.
Cause my brain and heart are both tied in the knot, and this hinders me from crying a lot. This causing me to show no emotion, but when I said I cared, I wasn't joking. But I guess it's too late for me to become broken. For now, I'm living with no more pain, tears of hoping. I'm just coasting. Yeah, I said I'm coasting. No more pain, tears, and hoping. For real.